if it's my first time seeing you here today. I'm very excited for this conversation. Congressman LaHood, thank you so much for being here. I grew up playing soccer in the United States from a very young age. So when I was asked what panels I'd be interested in moderating for this event, I jumped at the opportunity for this one, the beautiful game in the United States. But I do have to admit, even as someone who's played this game for decades and watched it and is very passionate about it, and someone who's reported on U.S. politics for over 10 years, I had never heard of the Congressional Soccer Caucus before. I did not know that this was a thing. I was a little bit excited when I heard it did exist. Can you talk about the purpose of the caucus, how you got involved in it, its origins a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Well, John, thanks for having me. A pleasure to be with everyone today for this very important conversation on sports diplomacy. I'm Congressman Darin LaHood of Illinois. I do chair the Congressional Soccer Caucus, and we have caucuses for a lot of different things, as you're well aware of, John, and so soccer is one of those. And part of how I got involved is I've had 3 sons that all grew up playing soccer. I had a son that played college soccer, and so they've been very competitive in that. Second thing is U.S. Soccer Federation is based in Illinois, has been. They just moved to Atlanta, but for 25 years, they've been in Illinois, the men's and women's soccer. In my district, I have 9 colleges and universities with men's and women's soccer, and I've just seen the growth of the game, and so got involved with the Soccer Caucus when I first got elected in 2015. Somebody had asked me, I wasn't aware that it existed, they asked me to get involved, and really we're focused on a number of different things from a congressional side. One is we were very involved with the bid for the World Cup in 2017, 2018, to get the bid in the United States. So we work collectively with lots of our colleagues, Republicans and Democrats across the aisle, on building support for bringing the World Cup to the United States. And it worked, obviously, to have it here. The second thing we focus on is youth soccer. Every year we play the Congressional Soccer Game, which will be played tonight, by the way, at Audi Field tonight. Anybody that wants to come out and watch us play? Playing is a relative term, but we have members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, and we have pros that play, but we raise a lot of money for youth soccer, particularly in underprivileged areas across the country. And so that's another thing we focused on, is building the game, focusing on where we can build pitches, where we can expand soccer across the country. And so those are areas we've been focused on. And then from a standpoint of promoting soccer in the U.S., the caucus has worked on a number of different agenda items. Last point is, for the World Cup, obviously there's a lot of preparation that's gone into it. So the Soccer Caucus has been involved with 3 different areas. Obviously, safety and security is number one. So last year, we passed 2 different appropriations, $650 million that go to the 11 host cities that focuses on safety and security. So we've worked with the 11 host cities across the United States on safety. Second thing is anti-drone technology for the 11 stadiums themselves, building out the perimeter, making sure we have the best equipment. So we've been working from a security aspect on that. And then lastly is visas, making sure that we streamline the process. If we were having this conversation a year ago, the visa wait time from Brazil or Colombia or Argentina, where we have non-visa agreements in place, it's 700-day wait. And so we've sped that up. And so that's another area we've been focused on the Soccer Caucus, to make sure we have the safest, most secure, and welcoming World Cup this summer.
So over the course of my life, I've seen the popularity of soccer rise across the United States, and that's been very welcome from my perspective. I think that's happened for a number of reasons. Just the fact that so many people in my generation played while they were kids and grew up, and then their kids played. It's easier to watch some of the games in Europe now than when I was a child. What would you attribute to the rise in popularity of soccer? It's now really competing with some of the more popular American sports, baseball, basketball.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's almost addictive when you go to your first soccer game. Whether it's an MLS game or whether it's a men's and women's national game, the pride that you have for your own country is really exhilarating from my perspective. And if you've never been to a World Cup game, go watch one this summer. I tell my colleagues that have never been to a soccer game here, this summer we're going to have 104 Super Bowls in 39 days simultaneously. Every game will be sold out. And I think the growth of the game has really, and the quality of players, right? The competition, the athletes. You know, I think soccer players are the best athletes in the world. The amount they run and the shape they have to be in, and the and the quality of play. And so, for all those reasons, yeah, as you mentioned in the beginning, John, other sports have taken priority in the United States, but soccer is quickly catching up, right? The growth of the youth game. You know, the U.S. The women's team has done very well on the national and international level. Men's team, we haven't achieved that yet, and I think there's an underdog quality of that too, which I think continues to give a lot of interest to soccer here. But if you go back to the '94 World Cup, which was the last World Cup the U.S. hosted then, the growth of soccer after that was exponential in terms of its growth. And I think you're going to have that same effect this World Cup, hosting in the United States, and what that'll mean for the growth of soccer.
So I couldn't agree more with you that people should go to World Cup games if they can. But there has been a lot of controversy over the ticket prices. Even President Trump a couple weeks ago said, I wouldn't pay that much for a ticket. It's been tough. I am going to 2 games, but I have to admit, getting a ticket was a little pricey, a little complicated. You mentioned a lot of the issues that the caucus is involved in terms of preparation. Are you concerned that we've seen some reports that ticket sales aren't as high as they might, they were projected to be, same with hotel bookings. Are you concerned about that at all? And is the United States really ready for the World Cup?
Well, I think we are. There's a lot of preparation that has gone into this. And, there has been some controversy on the ticket prices. You know, we live in a free market system. I tend to think that those prices are going to go down. You're already seeing that happening, particularly some of the games. They started out very high, but ticket prices are now coming down a little bit, and I think that'll stabilize. Last summer when we had the Club World Cup, which was obviously much smaller, but again, prices were very high. They came down and were very reasonable at the end. So we'll see. But, I mean, you can't underestimate, the amount of people and what it's going to bring. We've estimated a $30 billion impact in the United States over those 39 days that we'll have the World Cup. And it's also important to remember this World Cup. We expand from 32 to 48 teams. First time in the history of the World Cup. We'll have more teams here coming from around the world. And it's not, I mean, when you have a team that, comes, the DRC from Congo that made the World Cup for the first time, the amount of pride that people have for their team here, even if they don't go to the game, it's going to a restaurant, it's going to a bar, it's going to a fan zone and doing all that. And the last point that I will make is, sports transcends politics, right, in many, many ways, right? When the games start, I think you'll forget about politics and the price of tickets and other issues, and people are going to focus on the competition in the game and wanting their team to win in advance. And I think we've seen that with prior World Cups, whether it was Qatar 4 years ago or even Russia before that.
So you alluded to this a bit earlier, the work that the Congressional Soccer Caucus does regarding youth soccer. As someone who came up through youth programs, I've seen it transition from kind of more grassroots to now an academy system with a lot of the MLS teams. But there's also concern, I think, as that infrastructure is being built, which is great for the game in the United States, about pay for play, communities that, are maybe more disadvantaged, not being able to be involved. I live in New York City now. Field space is a constant concern. I play in rec leagues, but I think about the kids and how difficult it is to play a pickup game. You need a permit for the field. How much work are you doing on that? How concerned are you about that, as the game spreads, all of those types of challenges?
Well, I think there's a lot of discussion and conversation about how we get youth soccer to the level it needs to be so that we have more kids participating and more access. I'm not sure there's a federal government solution on that. I mean, some of these things will work themselves out. Again, in our free market system and competition system, I think it will happen. But there's no doubt, I think we're aware of it as part of the Soccer Caucus. We're having discussions and dialogue about it. Well, I anticipate after the World Cup, we're going to have a number of hearings that will focus on what we can do different and how we can promote things on fixing some of the problems that we've had with youth soccer and some of the academy. But again, the level of interest and the level of support and the interest in making the U.S. a very successful soccer nation, I think all the elements and foundational pieces are there for that.
You mentioned it a few moments ago, the way that sport transcends politics. in your role on the Congressional Soccer Caucus, how have you seen sport help bridge kind of bipartisan divides? Maybe even tonight's game is an example of that. Not just soccer, but sports in general. Why is that so important?
Well, I think we see that in our own country, the United States, right? Whether it's American football or baseball or basketball, you know, when we're watching our sports, we're not thinking about Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal. I mean, we're focused on watching the game and being entertained and seeing the athletes that are playing the game. And again, I think rooting for your team, whether, you know, I'm a big Chicago Bears fan. We have a big rivalry with the Green Bay Packers. And, you know, again, it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. It's more you're rooting for the Bears. And so you see that throughout the history of the United States. You see that in sports. And again, you see that on the international level with the World Cup. And, you know, think about the countries that'll be here. Obviously, a lot of these countries don't get along or have issues with each other, whether that's trade issues, whether that's national security issues, whether that's longstanding divisions. But, you know, when you get here and you're playing the beautiful game and engaged in sport, again, that transcends a lot of this. And I think that will be reflected in the World Cup here in the United States. One other point that I just want to mention, John, part of our investment by the United States in this World Cup is a thought process on the next 8 to 10 years in the United States. Because 2 years from now, we'll have the Olympics, which will be an international showcase. We're going to have the Rugby World Cup here. We're going to have the Women's World Cup in 2031. We're going to have the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake. So we're building the apparatus for sports diplomacy and a welcoming environment to the United States that is safe and secure for the next 8 to 10 years.
You spoke about the legacy of the 1994 World Cup in terms of helping to build the popularity of the game in the United States. What are you hoping the legacy of this World Cup will be? You just alluded to it a bit, looking ahead about setting the stage for future tournaments. But what are your hopes for that?
Well, if I'm being honest, my hope, the real legacy is the U.S. men's team winning the World Cup.
Yes, I hope for that.
Now,
too.
I don't think that's going to. That's probably
wishful thinking, maybe, but yeah.
But no, obviously, I'm a very strong supporter of our U.S. men's national team. So I want to see them succeed. I hope.
Me too.
So having 48 teams, I mean, listen, I hope they get into the round of 32 and, of course, the round of 16 would be remarkable. So I hope that's one of the legacies but coming out of the World Cup, I hope as many people as possible get to engage, get to be a part of the World Cup, get to go to games or be at a fan zone, or get to feel what it means to play on the international stage at an event like this. This will be the largest sporting event in the history of the world this summer. There'll be more people watching this World Cup than ever before. And I hope coming out of that we can continue to build on the soccer success we've had in this country and take it to a whole nother level.
Well, we've only got about 8 days, not that I'm counting or anything. Can't wait for it to start. It will be electric. Thank you so much, Congressman.
Thank you, John.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.